They are the most diagnosed generation in human history. They were raised in the safest neighborhoods given the most resources, and handed more information than any generation before them. And yet, they are breaking, not from war, not from famine, but from something far more invisible. An entire generation has been slowly stripped of the very experiences that would have made them strong. And today, the bill is coming due. Generation Z, those born roughly between 1997 and 2012, arrived into a world that wanted to protect them from everything. Every sharp edge padded, every risky idea silenced, every discomfort avoided. It was well-intentioned, it was loving, and it was catastrophic. Because here is the brutal irony at the center of the story. All mammals need free play, and lots of it, to wire up their brains during childhood to prepare them for adulthood. The numbers are staggering. Recent findings indicate that 46% of Gen Z have received a formal diagnosis for a mental health condition. Nearly half a generation, formally diagnosed? Anxiety leads as the most common diagnosis, followed by depression and ADHD. Over a third, 34%, are currently taking prescription medication for their mental health. A 2025 UNICEF study found that geopolitical conflict, climate crisis, and economic uncertainty is leaving young people feeling overwhelmed and adrift without adequate support. This is not a regional crisis, this is a global one. To understand how we got here, you need to understand the transition from free play to highly structured schedules, overparenting sheltered children from the adversities of a natural childhood, denying children the crucial opportunities to foster resilience, independence, and coping mechanisms for dealing with life's challenges. The second parallel story, the arrival of the smartphone. Rates of mood disorders among U.S. college undergraduates suddenly spiked in the early 2010s. The timing is not coincidental. The number of kids reporting depression and anxiety rose steadily every year of that decade, until rates were up 134% and 106% respectively by 2020. Nearly 4 in 5 Gen Z, 78%, admit they've felt addicted to their phone or social media. They spend an average of over 6 hours per day on their phones. And schools increasingly shielded students from ideas and speech that could be interpreted as triggering, blocking the opportunities to develop psychological toughness. The world was sanitized, and in that sanitized world, an entire generation never learned to fall. The root systems never deepened. Without the wind, without struggle, failure, and recovery, the roots never deepened. The roots of resilience were never given a chance. NYU social psychologist Jonathan Haidt calls this the Great Rewiring. He contends that defend mode has become the norm for Gen Z due to the absence of free play. This is worrying because children are inherently anti-fragile. They need challenges. Haidt uses the analogy of trees, which need wind for normal growth to strengthen their roots. A 2025 UNICEF study found that geopolitical conflict, climate crisis, and economic uncertainty is leaving young people feeling overwhelmed and adrift without adequate support. He identifies 4 harms of smartphones: social deprivation, sleep deprivation, attention fragmentation, and addiction. This created the perfect storm. To understand how we got here, you need to understand the transition from free play to highly structured schedules. Overparenting sheltered children from the adversities of a natural childhood. A generation without agency is a generation that cannot lead. And that affects all of us. The choice is ours. But here is what the data also tells us. Gen Z is not surrendering. They demand collective action, and they want to be in the driver's seat. The solutions are not complicated, they are simply uncomfortable. Experts agree on the path. No smartphones before high school, phone-free schools, and far more unsupervised play. When kids are allowed to explore, they learn the world isn't something to hide from. When they scrape a knee and find their way back, they flip the switch into discovery mode. They learn that the world is something to explore. The scars are real, but they are not permanent. The question is whether the adults will finally stop protecting them from the very experiences that would make them whole. A generation raised without friction cannot function in a world full of it. The anxious generation didn't choose this, but the generation that comes next doesn't have to inherit it. The choice is ours. The time is now.